Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of People Are Terrible. I'm Jeremy, joined as always with Caleb, and we are here to talk about some worldwide weird headlines from the weird news from this week. We're going to talk about some Florida Man headlines in our Welcome to Florida segment, and then each of us has brought our own topic. We got some hot button issues we're discussing this week. I want to talk about the 4th of July Salute to America parade, speech, celebration that happened over the 4th of July weekend. And Caleb, what topic have you brought today?
I brought the topic of the casting of ARIEL being a black woman and all the outrage on all sides about that.
You know, I'm actually happy to be, this is going to be the first time I've discussed this, and it hopefully will be the last as well, but I do want to weigh in on it. I think that everything surrounding it has been really interesting, so you guys stick around for that. But as always, we're going to kick it off with the worldwide weird. Starting with tourists going gaga for Japanese museum dedicated to poop. So the Huffington Post posted a video to a exhibit in Japan. It's Yokohama's Unko Museum. And you go home with a crappy souvenir because right when you get there, man, I hate when these ads start playing immediately. So right when you get in, you sit on a pot and you somehow create a poop that you can take home with you at the end of the tour. But it's really it's not like a shit museum. It's way more like the emoji of poop. Are you familiar with Unko?
No, I'm not. Please say that they call it the Pooseum, because they missing an opportunity if they don't call it that. You
really need to contact the people that are running shit over there, because no, they did miss out on a golden opportunity there.
I know, man. So what do you mean they sit on a toilet? You go on a toilet and you take a shit?
Well, it's so weird, man. When I say it's more like the emoji poop, it looks like a twisty swirl. Like that spiral poop that's perfectly formed. It's more like a cartoon poop than a real poop.
Okay.
And you get into the first room and everybody sits down on a toilet, and it somehow I think it pushes it up from the bottom, and you get this little souvenir turd. It's only going to be open for a couple more weeks, and they say the poop is artificial, nothing like what you would get in a toilet. It comes in a twisty ice cream and cupcake shape in all colors and sizes. So one of the quotes from a student visiting the park said, "The poops are colorful and come out nicely in photos. The shape is so round and cute." So it's just turned into more the emoji idea of what poop is, like a clean, sanitized pop version of poo.
I'm looking at a picture right now, and it's pretty much not even soft serve swirl. It's literally 3 discs stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what a healthy poo is supposed to look like, because if that's the case, I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, if you got poos like that, I mean, you got cancer or something, because there's some chunks that are forming weird. That's weird.
You're toting around a moneymaker there if you can poo that kind of perfect shape. So, scatological jokes are popular and bodily functions discussed openly. A recent morning variety show and public broadcaster NHK featured tips on how to deal with farts. Visitors in the museum get a short video introduction and then are asked to sit on one of the 7 colorful non-functional toilets lined up against the wall. Music plays as a user pretends to poop. Then a brightly colored souvenir poop can be collected from inside the bowl to be taken home after the tour. Let's see. A ceiling-high poop sculpture in the main hall erupts every 30 minutes, spitting out little foam poops. It's just a weird thing, man. Of all of the things that people Japanese. Are in, it is, right? That's the big takeaway.
It's one of those things I would totally go to this, though, because it sounds just fucking insane in the best possible way.
I can't.
I love stuff like this. That's just what the hell is going on, and why am I here? That's some of my favorite situations to be in that are so weird that you're why did I come to this? Those are the best things to do.
Much more.
How much would you pay for a ticket to get into the Unko Museum?
Museum of Poop?
The Pooseum, yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't pay much. It'd be $25 max.
Yeah, I was thinking that sweet $15 to $20 range. I might be able to get on board.
Max $50. But if I'm already in Japan, there's so much cool shit to see in Japan. Am I really going to the museum?
Yeah, of all of the weird, eccentric kind of like museums that you could definitely go to in Japan, I don't know how high this one up the list would rank, because it's such an interesting culture. Like that's something that, like, I think only in Japan or America would you actually have a museum dedicated to poops.
Yeah, I think in Japan it would be cutesy, like kawaii poop, and then in America it would probably be actual poop art.
Yeah. Like curly fry pubic hair sticking up out of the top of a real turd.
Or you remember the guy who he filled up a aquarium full of his own pee and threw a cross in it?
No.
So this was an art project. It was sold for like a shit ton of money too. It literally, he filled an aquarium with his pee and threw a cross in it.
Wow.
And that was, yeah.
Oh, this is not in the weird news, but it's a perfect time to toss it in there. I was thinking about it. There's not a lot of a conversation, but Belle Delphine is selling like little 1-ounce bottles of her bathwater for $30 each.
Is that the one who does the weird anime face?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the only thing I know about her, because that shit. Does she do porn as well?
So she's she does nudes, you know, like implied nudes, a lot of like real provocative stuff. But she said,
I actually saw porn with a girl doing that. And it was, I don't know, didn't do it for me. She was like taking it and then looking like she was like having a stroke or something. And it was weird. It was a little off-putting.
I, like, on one hand, I want to dismiss her outright. It's like, goddamn, I wish I could just sell my own bottles of bath water for $30 a piece, because it's easy being a cute girl. But at the same time, like, she posted, yeah, man, absolutely. She posted on Twitter, like, or Instagram a couple weeks ago, if this post gets 1 million likes, I will start a Pornhub account. And of course, the shit fucking blew up. People are like, all right, we're going to get Belle Delphine on Pornhub. This is great. And her first video uploaded, if I'm not mistaken, was I put Pootie Pie inside of me. And she's got like a printed out photograph of Felix, and she just eats it on camera. And people were completely pissed off about it. So she's doing this weird mix of like softcore porn and performance art and satire on the porn culture. Yeah, and trolling. It's like fucking props to her, man, really.
Honestly, the older I get, if you're making a buck off other people's stupidity, good on you.
Yeah, most definitely. So what, after this poo museum goes away, what's going to be the next popular museum in Japan, you guys? Let us know down in the comment section. We're real curious about what the next big trend of museum coming through is going to be. And on that, we're going to go ahead and move from one shitty story to another. There was a Port-A-Potty pit stop in Colorado that went horribly wrong in a wild scene caught on camera. It's a dash cam of a couple that are traveling up one of those like endless Colorado mountain roads. Mm-hmm. There's really nothing on either side of it. You're just like up in the middle of the freaking wilderness. And when I saw the video, I was like, yeah, that is exactly what Colorado looks like to me. I just now sent it to you via Twitter.
That's very rural Colorado. Like, you know, that's the part of Colorado I stay the fuck out of.
Right. And and the only place that we actually went to. It looks treacherous by the pictures. So let me know when you pull it up.
I'm watching the video right now. It says put the parking brake on, road tip. Weird shit does happen in Colorado too. Colorado's a weird place as well. You know, it's not quite up to Florida levels, but it's definitely a place that I've seen some weird things, like the Mad Pooper. Did you hear about that a couple of years ago?
No.
So there was a lady in Colorado Springs who would go jogging and just take a shit in the same person's yard every day. And the lady who owned the house started coming out and literally started spraying her with a hose all the time to make sure she's like, I got kids and you're like shitting on my lawn.
So she saw the person, she knew who was doing it. Wow.
And apparently the lady was like, oh, I just couldn't, hold it. Like I couldn't hold it while on my jog. It made me had to poo.
In the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
It some depends. Okay, I'm watching the video now. I'm seeing a car backed completely off a fucking cliff.
So they didn't put their e-brake on.
Oh,
the dude stops on the side of the road to take a piss or shit. I don't know exactly what he was doing. He went into this little boyette Port-A-Potty as these oncoming vehicles have their dash cam on, and they see it just rolling away and just straight off the side of the fucking cliff. there's pictures of it afterwards. It is just completely fucking destroyed.
Oh, I bet. Doesn't shock me. Also, horrible drivers out here. Like, they do dumb shit constantly. So this, it's not really surprising. Oh man, yeah, that thing is, he's not driving that again.
God, dude, he's lucky that there were people there to capture it. Like, some of those roads in Colorado, you might not have somebody drive by for a while.
Oh, yeah, there's rural parts of Colorado where there's no one for miles.
You just start walking like, well, fuck. Well, I guess people have cell phones, but even that, like, that's not even necessarily that reliable in a place like up in the top of the mountains where there might not be great cell service.
Yeah. He's lucky too. Like, there was no one in it, was there?
No.
God, like, what if his kids would have been in it or something?
Yeah, or his dog or just anything. Yeah, that's fucking
or like
crazy.
His wife, or, you know what I mean? Like, he could have killed someone.
Oh yeah, that was an expensive bathroom break. I've definitely been there before. I had one time, I was coming home from Subway when I was the manager on the beach, like years ago. I was probably in my early 20s, and as I'm driving home on this road, it was called 399, very, very rural road. Not a lot of street lights on the side of it or anything, but I had to piss so bad, and I stopped the car, left it running, didn't even plan. I mean, I'm just jumping right out to get back in to go, jump out, take a piss, go to open my car door up. Lights are still on, everything. It's just parked on the side of the road, fucking lock the doors. So I'm stuck on the outside of my car running. And mind you, this was back in the early 2000s, you know, like I had a cell phone, but I think it was trapped inside my car as well.
Yeah, that was back when no one carried it in their pocket constantly. Like
right. Yeah, for sure. And the next person that happened to pass me was a state trooper or a police officer. He was just like, what's going on? I was like, oh, you're not going to fucking believe this, dude. Can I use your phone? And he let me call my mom. I had to wake up my mom at like 11:30. I was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to bring the spare key down here.
My dad once, when we were kids, we go to Walmart, you know, and to go some grocery shopping. And we're in there forever because my parents take forever to grocery shop. Like, literally, we're probably in there almost 2 hours. Like, it's ridiculous. So we leave and we come out. And my dad's car has just been keys in, running the entire time we're in Walmart.
Oh, God.
In New Mexico. I'm like, the fact that this wasn't stolen is just unreal.
Yeah, dude, no doubt.
Like, yeah, and I don't know. My dad also hit my mom with a car, which one time we'll have to get to that story.
Oh, see, and these don't even crack our embarrassing lists. Like, that pissing and locking myself out of my car, that's like so far down the list of most humiliating things I've ever done.
I think that's because we don't get very embarrassed, so that's why that list was hard.
Yeah, it's pretty fair. So moving on to the next story. Most of these are just funny little clips that I saw, but this one really topped the list of probably my favorite thing on the internet this week. And it ties nicely into the People Are Terrible podcast because it was about 2 or 3 shows ago that I had made a George Michael reference in regards to your 5 o'clock shadow, which I do not have yet. I'm missing it. But I talked about the song Careless Whisper. I'm like, oh, it's the jam, the saxophone song. Well, this teacher, father, is learning how to play the saxophone. So he took it on the road and found a cow field. And he brought his saxophone out there to serenade these cows. And they fucking loved it, dude. Like, they were so into it. So the internet is over the moon for an Oregon dad who's gone viral for serenading a herd of cows with some sweet saxophone jams. Quote, my parents are such goofs, they drove out to the backwoods so my dad could play the cows the song he's been learning on the saxophone. And he plays a little bit of Careless Whisper, and I can't remember what the second one was, but, and film is a magical medium. For all I know, the people behind him have got a handful of a cow's favorite fucking food. I don't know what that would be. Grass, I guess, but they're like surrounded by grass. I don't know, maybe they've got like a cow whistle that's like similar to a dog whistle that attracts them. But these cows, like the second he starts playing, they all like start looking over at him like, huh, what's going on over there? And then they come to the side of the fence and they're just straight up watching him like it's a fucking performance. It's the craziest thing.
At first, I thought when you said he was going to go out there, I thought he was going to get attacked by a bunch of cows, which No, I do watching the video. They do walk up. They're probably just curious. They're like, "What the fuck is this noise?"
Yeah, yeah. It
That's what
seems
I would
like it would be a
say.
good way to, like, a good hunting strategy. Like, you get a fucking assault rifle and you play the saxophone. Granted, cows, yeah, you're not
I was
gonna
just
have
gonna
to.
say. I was gonna say. I think for a good hunting strategy for cows is to walk up to the cow and shoot the cow.
Yeah, yeah, they're pretty trusting, and those are some pretty cows. Those don't look like the kind of cows that you turn into to steak. I don't know.
No, that's no. The prettier the cow, the juicier the steak,
The
as they
better the
say.
steak. That's yeah. I didn't even think about that. They do look like a very distinctive kind of small cow. They're not black and white like a lot of cows. They got kind of like a mule color, but they look
Yeah.
into it, don't they?
Yeah, no, they do. They look pretty happy about it.
Who knew?
Maybe they should just play that shit at slaughterhouses, and that way they go out on a high note.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of which, we'll go ahead and move on to the next topic. Well done. Man goes under the knife to turn himself into the real life Parrotman. Now,
Ooh,
this isn't
Parrotman.
unusual. We've talked about what was it? The fucking tiger guy and the lizard guy.
The guy who tried to look like Red Skull.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that one too. He was probably the gnarliest of all of them. But the parrot guy, he did some pretty intense body modification to accomplish this look. And to be honest, if it didn't say he's trying to look like a parrot, I would not have a clue what he was going for.
Parrotman. I'm looking up pictures of him. Parrotman, plastic surgery. Does he just look like a freak?
Yo, yeah, dude, he got his ears cut off. He got tattoos on his face that are the color of the...
Oh yeah, I would never guess he looks like a parrot.
No, dude, it's like, I don't know. But then he got the tattoo dyed into his eyes, which basically they stick the ink like a needle really like past the first membrane of skin, and they inject it in between two layers of skin within the eye itself. And it's super fucking dangerous, could make you go blind. He's cut off his ears, which has dramatically altered his ability to hear as well. So he's like partially deaf, probably partly fucking blind, looks like a fucking freak. But, you know, he's like, it's my body and people should be able to do what they want with it. I never thought about the negative consequence, or I probably wouldn't have gone through with it. So, like, I mean, where do you weigh in on that?
Well, I think not thinking is this guy's specialty. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's my thing: is do what the fuck you want. Also, we're gonna do what we want and say you look like a freaking idiot on our show.
Yes.
Here's my. On a serious note, I think you have to have something mentally off with you to go that extreme. As someone who's covered in tattoos, and I understand, wanting to make yourself more beautiful and all that through your standard of beauty. I get it, but to like cut off your ears or cut off your nose or do any of these extreme things, I can't help but think people say it's only for me. I think it has to be for some sort of attention, some sort of when you're going out and getting weird looks, like you enjoy that sort of attention for whatever reason. But yeah, cutting off parts of your body are not normal.
Yo, all you have to do to look like a weirdo to me is just walk around with parrots in general. Like, you don't need any of the tattoos or anything. Like, just be the parrot guy and you're
Put
weird
a parrot
enough.
on one shoulder and an iguana on the other. You're the weirdest fucking freak in the city.
There's always, like, I live on the beach, and well, not on the beach, but I live in a beach community, and there's always an iguana person, and there's always a parrot person, and everybody, like, tourists come through and they're like, oh wow, look at the bird. So there's definitely the attention element of it. I 100% agree with you there. People will always say that it's for them, and maybe there is a kernel of truth to that. I mean, you obviously wouldn't go through with it if it's something you were totally against, but at the same time, I think a big part of it, I think a big appeal of it is the way that people react to it. So I don't know what I would like diagnose it as, but I definitely think that it's something that is it's something psychological where they want to be seen,
What if you had to do plastic surgery to look like an animal? What animal would you do?
Well, Caleb, I'm glad you asked.
You're
I
like, I'm
mean,
prepared.
yeah, actually, I mean, I would try to keep it so like in the same ballpark. Like, for example, no matter what you do with your body modification, chances are not all that great that you're gonna come out looking like a fucking parrot. The tiger guy got pretty close. The lizard guy, they've done some pretty cool shit with that. But like, why not just like let's do the Planet of the Apes fucking monkeys from the original movies where like we can do it. We can just like get a coconut and cut it in half and put it on our face.
And just like cheek implants and
Yeah.
mine was monkey. I'm like, I already got the giant freaking monkey ears. So I'm already halfway there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and as a human, we're already like we're getting close to the mark. So like with a little bit of facial or like a little bit of hair implants on your face,
And a little nose.
yeah, you'd be good.
That's what I was thinking too. Let's do Planet of the Apes.
So I mean, I guess I would go with like a chimpanzee.
I think your first thing is I would go actual Planet of the Apes. Be like, can you make me as close
Yes.
to an actual Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I'm into it. That yikes, yeah, what a gross looking thing. All right, we'll move on from Parrotman. He's got enough of our attention. So this is one that I got a kick out of because it is really on the nose, but Disney apparently had to go back and delete the casting couch fake blooper from the end of Toy Story 2 amid the hashtag MeToo movement. I didn't remember this from the movie, but apparently they're like the gold prospector. He's in a box. Yeah, at the end of the Toy Story movies, they'll do like little fake bloopers or whatever. Well, he's talking to these Barbie twins, and he says, "So you say you're identical twins? I can get you in the movies and make you famous. I'll make a couple calls or something like that." And they turn the box around, and then the prospector realizes that he's being watched by the camera and kind of just moseys out of the frame. Pretty funny scene, but I guess with what happened with John Lasseter, they were just like, yeah, maybe not a good look.
I don't know. I can see not putting it in a new movie, or if it were coming up in Toy Story 4, editing that scene, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like going back, I hate when people go back and just change their old movies. I don't even like it when it's Star Wars and they just change it and you can't even get the original version. Or Steven Spielberg removing all the guns from E.T.
It's super stupid.
It's stupid. Like, these were products of their time, and you want, for better or worse, you want to be able to go back and see these things.
If there's something that we don't like, we just want to like pretend it didn't exist, like brush it aside. Kind of the whole thing with the casting couch in the first place. This was not a new phenomenon. People acted like it was a revelation when, oh my God, Harvey Weinstein was using his power as a producer to have sex with young, naive actresses. Well, yeah, that's what they fucking have always done, you know?
Known that. It's like, oh, you just in general. Oh, you mean men use power to get sex and women use sex to get power? Oh yeah. My God, what a revelation.
Yeah.
We know that.
And it feels silly to like go and try to course correct or like rewrite history to where that's not a thing. Like, why not make a joke about it? It's fucking ridiculous. I have to imagine that it just left a particularly sour taste in Disney's mouth specifically because of the John Lasseter thing. So I understand their motivation, despite the fact that I don't agree with why they did it. I get why they did it, and it is it's actually a really big problem that I have, and it ties nicely into this next story with studios going back or people going back and trying to change things in order to appease audiences. Like Netflix, this is the next story. Netflix pledges to cut back on smoking depictions in original productions after a group blasts Stranger Things. So Hooper, the sheriff of Hawkins, is a smoker and a drinker and portrayed as that not necessarily being a good thing. He's kind of a fucking mess. That's what did I say? Did I call him Hooper? It's Hopper. Anyways. So I guess some sort of special interest group attacked Netflix for having characters smoke in this program that has children in it, and you know kids are watching, and Netflix is like, we're sorry, we're not gonna have smoking in our stuff anymore. And it's just so fucking frustrating, dude. It's like, back to what you were saying a minute ago, and to me it's like context doesn't fucking matter anymore. Nobody's glorifying smoking in the show.
it blows. So first of all, I haven't finished Stranger Things. I watched about half of the first season. It's not really a show for kids, is it anyway?
No.
So
no.
be a fucking parent.
Uh-huh.
And don't let them watch that. That's your responsibility, not Netflix, first of all. Second of all, people in the 80s smoked. Plus, like you said, the context is that it's not necessarily a good thing. He's not, he doesn't have his life together, and they kind of position that way.
Yes.
Context matters. You can make a movie about Nazis that is most movies about Nazis are very, very anti-Nazi. Just because Nazis are in them doesn't necessarily mean that it's a pro whatever movie. You can make a movie with smoking that's an anti-smoking movie. You can make it a pro-smoking movie. And it's people now we have like, we want a clean speech where you can't say this, you can't do that, regardless of context, which sometimes saying those things and doing those things are actually for the agenda that you want, but you're still stamping them out. I just don't understand it.
It's amazing how many times we've like kind of gone over similar talking points about this context or this conversation, and it's like, this is a show, and it's debatable whether or not it's for kids. I mean, the cast is primarily children. Yes, there's violence in it. Yes, there's adult content, adult language in it. And no push to stop the murder. No push to stop the violence. Nobody gives a fuck about violence. Like, all the violence you want, as long as there are no sex and drugs in it. Like, it is the most backwards fucking American sensibilities, and it is like, it would be one thing if Hopper, excuse me, he's kind of the hero of the show, but a lot of his actions aren't seen as heroic. He's
like an anti-hero.
Yeah, and he's a fuck up. He's not the kind of person that people aspire to be, or maybe he is, but none of the kids in the show smoke. It is so stupid to me that we are selective about the things that matter, and it's like any portrayal of smoking or any portrayal of drinking is like, well, drinking's bad and we don't want to, influence the youth, but nobody has shit to say, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't. I'm not saying, hey, you guys should pick up your pitchforks and go for this, but like, people are getting fucking murdered on the show every couple of scenes, every couple of episodes.
Well, we do this thing with art where cinema particular, where someone gets killed or violently murdered, we're like, well, that's just fantasy, and you tell your kids that's fantasy, that's not what people do. But then when someone smokes a cigarette, you can't also tell a child like, hey, you shouldn't do that. That's the role of a parent. Netflix is not the child's parent. The government is not the child's parent. How about this? You be an adult and you raise your fucking kids. That's one of my weird pet peeves. I get it. It's hard. It's stressful. I understand that. But you can't sanitize the world. You need to prepare your kids to go out into a world that's pretty rough. And making sure that they never see smoking is not the way to do it. Because guess what? There's going to be kids in school who offer them cigarettes. Mm-hmm. That's a lot worse than whatever Hopper smoking cigarettes on TV.
And it's, we'll come back around to this conversation with your topic, but I do feel like it's like we shouldn't get to a place where like art is beholden to the social and society. I'm not the kind of person that says keep politics out of my art. I understand that's a little bit ignorant to even say. However, I do feel like it's like, can't we separate like the conversation? It's so simple. You say, well, son, back in the 1980s, a lot more people smoked. They weren't aware of the adverse health afflictions that it could have on you, and it was very normal in households to smoke. Obviously, we as a society have evolved past this. We've progressed. So many less people smoke now because we learned of the dangers of lung cancer and the chemicals in smoking. So while these characters did it, they were coming from a place of not knowing, and now we have the advantage because we're smarter than that. Conversation over,
I think you just did a public service. You should snip that out and send it to all these groups. Say, hey, since you don't want to talk to your kids, Jeremy just did it for you.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and hit Interstate 10 again and head on down to Florida for our Welcome to Florida Weird News segment. So my first topic, this is fucked up. Florida man killed by pack of dogs, police say. There was a body that was found, and it had over 100 bite marks on it. They haven't conclusively found out the cause of death. However, pretty much everybody agrees that they did not find any sort of injuries other than the dog bites. A 45-year-old man named Melvin Olds Jr. had suffered more than 100 dog bites. No other wounds were found. They say they found him dead Thursday in a wooded area near Lake Placid. The on-scene investigation indicated his death was caused by an animal attack. The medical examiner who arrived at the scene also could not see any wounds other than those caused by dogs, a fact that was confirmed in the autopsy. So it sounds like they're pretty fucking sure that it was dogs that did it. They set traps while patrolling the area and captured 6 dogs that matched the bite sizes of Olds on Friday. DNA tests will determine whether the animals actually attacked the man, and then the sheriff is encouraging people to stay away from stray dogs. Holy shit.
That doesn't even shock me. Dogs are a motherfucker. My brother-in-law was attacked by a bunch of dogs and got bit like 9 times.
Really?
Yeah, like this is so common. You know, everyone likes to think they're just cute. Yes, it's tame, but you're letting an animal into your home. And when they go stray and they don't have you constantly, taking care of them, they're animals. They will attack you.
That is so crazy to me. I've literally never heard of it happening before. That's wild for your brother. I mean, what, did he fight him off? Did they just stop? What the fuck?
I don't know. I'd have to ask my wife. It's her brother who did it. But yeah, he apparently got attacked pretty bad by it when he was a kid.
I mean, I got bit by a dog, but I was definitely antagonizing it. Like, I was a kid and I was trying to feed a little chow chow, a mud pie. Like, I was that young. I was like 5 or 6 and started trying to force feed it dirt, and it didn't like that, obviously, and it bit me in the face. But that was the only time I've ever actually been attacked by a dog. I've been chased on a bicycle. Like, there's something about spinning tires that makes certain fucking dogs go nuts, and I've been chased while I was on a bike. But that's crazy to me, dude. I mean, one big mean dog is scary. A pack of mean dogs, that's fucking horrifying.
So a dog bites and attacks one out of every 69 people, according to the CDC. Approximately 4.7 million dog bites occur in the United States each year. Over 800,000 of those bites result in serious medical care.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So when people talk about, and even you and I talk about shark attacks and stuff like that, you're way more likely to get bit by a dog than you are a shark.
Yeah, way more likely. You know who don't have those statistics? Cats.
Well, hey, dude, it just depends on what kind of cat we're talking about.
Well, yeah, the type that you keep in your home.
Yeah. I guess we don't throw wolves and dogs in together.
Yeah.
How many people die annually from dog attacks?
And yeah, I wonder how many die. Probably not as many. How many people die? I'm very curious.
36 in a year? Is that right?
That's not horrible. Is that U.S. or is that if that's
U.S. dog bite fatalities in 2018? 36 dog bite attacks resulted in human death. So 2018.
Yeah, it says typically between 30 and 50 people in the U.S. die from dog attacks each year.
That's crazy.
It's way more common. Yes, I get we're 300 million people, so it's not that common. But when you consider, it's still a possibility. I'm sure more people die from dog attacks than sharks, and definitely at least get attacked by them.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I'm not scared of a dog. I think there is pretty much, like a Rottweiler or a Doberman Pinscher or something like that. Maybe one-on-one. But I think I just feel like because we have hands, because we have opposable thumbs, because we can wield weapons and we've got our feet and stuff, dogs really don't stand a chance in the same way that a shark would. But when you start talking about numbers, man, when you start throwing 5, 6 dogs, even 3 dogs, I think 3 dogs could fuck me up.
Have you ever seen a person get attacked by a dog?
Nah, I mean on video, but never in real life.
Dude, I've seen it in real life. I saw a pit bull attack someone. And no, you don't stand a fucking chance. They are
They go for the
brutal.
throat or something?
No, they just like literally will grab your arm, pull you down, start just attacking you everywhere, dragging you. Like it's literally watching an animal attack. Like everything you picture from an animal attack is what the pit bull I saw. The guy survived it, but he was like fucked up.
Yeah, and it's like unless you want to like go like to animal extremes to like stop, like who really wants to gouge a dog's eyes out? Like, no, you don't want to have to do that shit. But you know, like if it comes to survival, I'm going fucking cheap shots. But one time my wife was at the flea market here in Pensacola. I was not there. Fucking thank God. It would have been traumatizing. It's horrible. She had to see it. I think she dealt with it better than I did, but whatever. There was a woman walking a pit bull on a leash one direction, and a woman walking a pit bull that was not on a leash in the other direction up the side of this fucking road. And the two pit bulls just locked up on each other, and they just started attacking each other. And the woman with the one on the leash was trying to pull the dog away while the other was just going in on it. Our buddy Malachi grabbed like a fucking metal pan or like a pot or something and ran over and tried to like whack the dog with it to split them up. The one on the leash ended up getting killed by the other one right out there in front of hundreds of people or whatever. And that's just like, it's fucked up, man. Some dogs are bred to be mean.
I don't know if I ever told you that that they used to fight pit bulls behind us in the house that I grew up in.
No.
Dude, it's disgusting. First of all, anyone who fights dogs is a piece of shit. But I used to watch them like literally rip each other apart. I think that's partially where my hatred for dogs came from, you know, is when you watch dogs rip each other apart, you're like, oh, they're not just cute, fuzzy animals, you know? And granted, these are ones that are bred to fight. And literally you have to get a metal pipe, and I've seen them do this, and you put it in between the dog's mouth, and you put your knee on the back of the head and you pull it back because their jaws lock up.
Yeah.
And so you have to put it on the back of their head and pull it back, and you hear it like pop, and then that's the only way you can get them off. It's crazy.
Jesus Christ. You know, I've had pit bulls before. Like 9 times out of 10, they are the sweetest dogs. It's just all in how, and I will say this, and I know that it's not 100% accurate. It is all how you train them, whether or not they're going to be aggressive to that extent. I have a dog now. My wife and I fucking love this dog. His name's Rocky. He's an American Bulldog Chocolate Lab mix. He's just a mutt. We fucking found him in a litter of puppies out in Holly when he was super young. We have been super affectionate to him. He's an inside dog. He fucking sleeps on the couch with us. He's super cool in the house, but when we put him on a leash, he has insane aggression, especially towards dogs. And I've always tried to figure out, because people always say there's no such thing as bad pets, just bad pet owners. And I'm like, well, fuck, we've been relatively good pet owners. Maybe we didn't socialize him enough when he was young. And we had, when I lived in Navarre, we had neighbors that had 2 Doberman pinchers, and they were so fucking mean, dude. They were fully grown adults while Rocky was a puppy. And when I would take him out to go to the restroom and walk him in the morning, these dogs would just run up and down the chain link fence on the other side, just fucking raising hell, barking, trying to get at my dog. So I think that this early socialization in a context where they were super mean to him caused him to react to other dogs that same way.
Yeah, and I always disagree when people go, oh, there's no such thing as bad dogs. There's bad people, there's bad dogs, there's bad cats, there's bad of everything. I do think, though, in all of those above, it's the nature versus nurture debate. I think it's a combination of both. I do think it tends to be more nurture, because one of my friends back home has the nicest, actually one of my friends here too, has 2 of the nicest pit bulls. They're just big babies, you know? Yeah. And I was over at his house 2 days ago, and he is, the worst thing he will do is he turns around and he puts his butt on your shoe while you're sitting there. That's like the most aggressive thing this dog does.
Yeah, that sounds like Rocky too. Rocky loves fucking people, man. It's just not a big dog, which sucks, because you want to be able to like take him out and hang out with other people. And like when we travel and shit, there's only like one person that I will trust with my dog, because I know like Steven knows him. So, like, we might go to Norway here in a couple of weeks, but we got to be gone for a week, and we can't board him with other dogs, because there's no fucking telling what he'll do, you know?
My brother's dog's the other way. Like, he loves dogs, but then he runs into dogs that don't love him.
Yeah.
And he always is, like, freaked out. He doesn't know what to do. And then they always try to attack him, and then he's actually a tough little dog, and so he ends up whooping their ass. And it's like, well, your dog ran up and started biting him. Like, you can't get, you know?
Yeah, no shit.
It's awful about watching dogs fight. It's the worst thing. Even when it's, that's what they do. They see each other, they fight sometimes. And it's, to me, I hate watching it.
Yeah, dude, cats will get a hold of each other too. And cats make god-awful noises, man.
Cats fighting is brutal. Have you ever seen a cat and a dog fight?
No.
Dude, cats are impressive little creatures. Like, I've seen cats beat the shit out of dogs for little tiny things. And you're like, how is this? This is literally like David and Goliath, this giant dog and this little tiny cat that can move real easy. It's insane.
Oh, they're fucking badasses, dude, for sure. They're badasses. I saw a video from India of a house cat protecting a family from a cobra. I was like, oh, that's fucking dope, but we've already got enough animal headlines in this. It's like so many of my weird news headlines. It's just what's out there, guys. I try to find the best of the best, and sometimes you get...
I don't know, you got the Pooseum, and then you got animal attacks. Pretty good.
I'm already kind of regretting that choice. I'm like in real time, like, man, I wonder if I should leave that in or just like start with the story after. Sure, I'll leave it in.
I want the Pooseum. That's my favorite. That's my favorite story.
Oh, good. Well, then at least we know now. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Florida man is arrested after befriending a gator in his backyard and feeding it. So, very Florida man story. Paul Fortin of Daytona Beach said Hank, the 10-foot gator that lives in his backyard, is a good friend. Hank has been living in Fortin's backyard for 3 years, and Fortin said he didn't think twice when he uploaded a video of himself feeding Hank a bagel on Facebook. Turns out it was enough to send cops knocking on Fortin's door. The cops showed up at his house and issued him a citation after the video surfaced. He was placed under arrest after refusing to sign the citation, but he thankfully lived to tell the tale when he... after he gave the alligator the bagel. So there's footage of him out back. It reminds me so much of that movie Lake Placid. He's got this big ass gator in his backyard and he just goes out there and like talks to it and feeds it random shit. He's gonna end up getting his fucking hand bit off.
Would you feel bad for him if he did?
No.
It's like, dude, you're feeding an alligator bagels. So,
and I don't mean like, I don't subscribe to the notion that like all animals are like equal when it comes to their ability to interact with humans. For thousands of years, dogs and cats have been domesticated to cohabitate with humans. Alligators don't even, they don't have the first fucking clue about any of that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's even different when you see like people who, perfect example, a dog is very different than a wolf.
Yeah.
You don't want to put a wolf in your home.
For sure.
Or the lady we have who brought the bobcat into her house. Very different creature. I would assume gator is even worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, at least we're like mammals are like closer on the, like we're in the same kind of science classification a lot more than fucking birds and gator. Like some animals, I don't feel like they have a sophisticated enough brain to even understand, like, I don't know what an alligator sees a person as. I mean, with a dog and a cat, you think they look at a person and they're like, that is a source of security. Like, that is somebody who will feed me so that I can survive. All I got to do is be cute. Fucking play it cool by that person and we will be good. But an alligator, like, I can't imagine their brain, like, thinking much more than, like some fucking baseline frequency that makes no sense. Like, we're not registering what the fuck's going on in that thing's head.
Yeah, you have a dinosaur living with you, essentially. How are you doing that shit?
Yeah,
so
man.
The video of him feeding, there's two videos. I have it muted, so I don't know. There's two videos, one showing him eat that, and then one where he has a fish, and this thing comes up very aggressive. Is that him as well?
I think that's Inside Edition fucking with us, because I was wondering the same thing. It's like in one, the gator seems kind of docile. He's feeding it a bagel. The next shot is like a guy reeling in a bass, and then he goes to grab the bass off the shore, and this fucking gator just comes out of nowhere and snaps at him. I think that they're two different gators.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like they were using it as an example of like, hey, look how mean gators are.
You probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe the gator would eat a bagel.
Oh man. Yeah, that does seem weird. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's going for the guy's arm. And he just sucks.
I wonder if like you can actually domesticate an alligator.
Domesticate is an amazing word for domesticating an alligator.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be curious to find out. I just like, same with like snakes. It's like, I get it. You want to have a reptile for a snake because you're edgy, or a reptile for a pet because you're edgy or whatever. But like, do they really make good pets? Have you ever had a reptile?
No, fuck no. I'm not a weirdo.
I had a buddy that had 2 pet turtles, and he fucking loved them, dude. I was like, that's got to be like the worst pet. Weirdo.
I had turtles when I was a kid because I loved the Ninja Turtles.
Right, which, you know, that makes sense. And you were young. Yeah,
I was a little kid, and one of them, he broke his arm. We had a cage, and he broke his arm, and it was bent the other way, so he would walk in circles.
Did you name them? Were they named after the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I had 4 of them. The one that broke his arm was Raphael because he was tough. He kept going.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Well, did you feel like when you had them as pets that like y'all were like had some sort of relationship? Do you think they knew you or anything like that?
At the time, I probably did because I was a kid. Now, no, like that thing did not have any love for me. Yeah, it was a turtle.
Yeah, that's what I wonder, man.
What about a movie idea though? About a guy, about him training an alligator to fight crime and call it Domestigator.
Oh, dude, yes. Yeah, all in.
I think it's a good movie. We'll get Kevin Smith to direct it.
Start writing that shit up immediately. Yeah, I like that. The Domestigator. The Instigator. There's a movie called Crawl that's coming out. Have you seen the trailers for it?
I saw the trailer to it.
I wonder if it'll be good. At first I was like, man, it's one alligator. How the fuck is it everywhere at one time? But then I was like, oh wait, there's a shot where it shows a bunch of eggs are open, so I guess this town is getting hit by a hurricane and a pack of wild alligators that are just like bloodthirsty. I don't know. We'll see. I really like the director.
Who is directing it?
The guy that did The Hills Have Eyes and Piranha, Alexander Aja. Yeah, he's good, man. The Hills Have
Eyes remake. I don't like it as much as the original, but it's a solid remake.
It's fucking so gnarly. That scene with where they run up on the RV is just, goddamn, that shit's hard to watch.
Yeah,
they just murder the whole family.
It's a good movie. It takes place in New Mexico too, because every fucked up thing takes place in New Mexico.
It does. Yeah, I swear Walter White and Jesse were like next door cooking up a batch of meth in the other RV.
What's going on?
That would have made that movie so much more dope. Fucking Walter White comes in at the end and starts taking out mutants.
I would watch that movie.
Yeah, man. All right, look at us just pitching fucking $1 million ideas. Florida man, 23, arrested after cop finds marijuana stash in his Bob Marley backpack. That's the story. That's pretty much it.
That's amazing. I don't even think we need to expand on that.
No, I mean, basically, like, you might as well wear a shirt that says probable cause on it.
Yeah. You know, he was also wearing a Cheech and Chong shirt.
Yeah. Man arrested for stashing his LSD inside of his fucking, what's that guy's name? The guy who came up with acid? It didn't come up with it, but Jimi Hendrix used it too. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. That'll work. Yeah, there's just like some things you should not put together, you know?
I agree with that.
I'm trying to think, like, what are other things that you shouldn't, what are other places that you shouldn't stash certain drugs? Like, they found a gram of cocaine inside of his Scarface DVD.
Yeah, you know, they found meth in his. Had meth on him, and he was wearing a Walter White shirt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is pretty much the textbook example of like, or having a 420 bumper sticker. Like, dude, you're just asking for it. What you're doing right now is painting a target on your back.
Do you know what I hate? And it's weird because I don't give a shit about weed, but what bugs the shit out of me are the people who wear pot leaves on everything. Like, their shirt has 5 different pot leaves on it. Their hat does. You're like, dude, we get it. You like weed. Like,
yeah.
Just a little much.
Too much. And now that it's like pretty much legal in most of the country, it's like it's lost that edgy subversiveness of it. You just look like a billboard at this point.
It's literally the same thing as the guy who wears like Bud Light shirts all the time. You know, it's just like, dude, okay, you like beer, we get it.
Yeah, man pulled over for DUI and driving a fucking Budweiser truck. I don't know. That was lame. I don't feel good about that. Let's see. Bryant was pulled over around 1:20 p.m. while driving in St. Pete after a sheriff's deputy determined that his car's registration was expired and had a broken brake light. So, registration expired. Driving dirty. Not the best idea. Upon approaching the vehicle, the detective reported that he smelled pot, prompting a search of Bryant's ride. The cop discovered a black Bob Marley backpack containing a mason jar with 2 Ziploc bags containing a green leafy substance. Bryant was arrested after a field test on the 42 grams of green substance tested positive for marijuana. He was charged with possession and intent to distribute, a felony, released last night after a $2,000 bond. His rap sheet includes a 2018 conviction of the same crime, which he was busted and... Damn, dude. Well, that sucks. I mean, like, the big takeaway is he got busted with just under 2 ounces of weed and is facing felony charges for it. That's tough. If he were in Colorado, not a problem.
Not a problem at all, which I don't think it should be. You know, I'm a firm believer of that, as very libertarian as I am. Do what the fuck you want.
Yeah. People should not be going to prison for what they do to themselves or in their own free time.
Someone, I don't care.
And I mean, I guess objectively, there could be a debate made to whether or not selling pot to people is hurting them. I tend to fall on the side that, like, no, it's not. But I don't know. I don't know. So people say it's like a gateway drug and stuff. And like, if you smoke pot, you could potentially become like.
Here's the thing is I've had this debate with everyone. So alcohol is also a gateway drug. Yes, pot is a gateway drug. That does not mean that everyone who drinks or everyone who smokes pot will go to, you know, meth. But I've never met a meth head who started off with meth, you know? Like they just woke up and they were like, yeah, you know, I'm going to do meth. Now they started off with either alcohol or weed, and then they moved up to something else. So I feel like there's a lot of hysteria around the term gateway drug. I'm like, there's people who use weed constantly in a very, you know, responsible way and never do anything else. But yeah, there's always the potential of once you start down that path, the quote unquote slippery slope argument, that does affect some people. It's not everyone, but you know, it does happen.
I was going to go the other way with it. And I think yours is the more likely scenario, but like any drug that you do before other drugs is a gateway drug. Like the first drug you do is typically a gateway drug. And I know it is highly unlikely that the first drug a person does is going to be meth or something like that. But when you and I were growing up in the end of the 90s, in the early 2000s, people that would not smoke a joint with me were taking X-Tabs, and it was very like there was like a mainstream acceptance of MDMA and ecstasy that I didn't see with other drugs. So I knew like cheerleaders and shit that were doing ecstasy that would not smoke weed, but they did drink as well. So I think alcohol is probably the biggest gateway drug.
Alcohol, cigarettes, and weed are probably like the top 3.
Yeah, so for me, in my personal experience, if I get drunk, the chances of me doing other drugs is going up substantially. If I get high, the chances of me doing anything else goes down pretty substantially, like just in general.
Eating is the only thing that the chances go up.
Yeah, go watch a movie.
When I used to drink, I would be the only time I'd smoke cigarettes. I never did anything more than that, but like I would never smoke a cigarette if I was sober. But when I was drunk, I was like, yeah, give me a cigarette.
Yes,
I don't know why.
100%. Or for me, at like 2:00 in the morning after everybody's drinking and somebody's like, hey, you want to do a line of Coke? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm drunk right now. So like, what?
Yeah, I think it definitely, well, you know how getting drunk is. You don't make the best decisions.
No. Yeah. I don't make the best decisions in general, as we can clearly point to throughout the course of our podcasting career. All right. Well, I guess that goes ahead and wraps up the Florida Man segment of the show. Now let's get to the good stuff, the stuff that we spent a good bit of time talking about one of the topics last week. We barely got into embarrassing stories just because we ran so long in the news segment of it. So this time we wanted to dedicate a little bit more time to our topics. And plus, I think these are both interesting topics. So
they're better topics than last week.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. So my topic this week, and it took me a minute because my initial thought was I'm gonna have to talk about the ARIEL thing. This is like the biggest internet thing of the week. Luckily you brought that up, so I was like, all right, well, what else is going on? What else is current and topical? And I started thinking back to this whole 4th of July salute to America, and the fact that back in 2017 Donald Trump went to France and he observed the Bastille Day, this huge militarized celebration that really celebrates the patriotism and the accomplishments of France. And Trump was like, I like that. I think I want to do something like that. And so he set the plan into motion that they were going to do this very big celebration, the Salute to America on the 4th of July out of Washington, D.C. Typically, this is something that both parties have been mindful of not trying to politicize and really keep it more of like a neutral celebration of America, regardless of your, political ideology and things like that. And a lot of times the presidents haven't even had anything to do with it. Well, Trump directly got involved and turned it into a very militarized celebration and show of our armed forces, which, I get the patriotic side of it, but it also kind of, it painted a different picture to me. I watched it yesterday, and I also asked that you checked it out. What were your kind of overall thoughts of this celebration?
So I was expecting to be actually anti this because I was watching, because I saw the reactions first. People like, oh my God, tanks parading down the street. And I was like, oh my God, I don't approve of that. And then I was like, couldn't find a picture of these fucking tanks parading down the street. I was like, what's going on? They didn't parade down the street. They brought them in on trucks and they parked a couple of them so people could look at them. That doesn't bother me once I actually saw it. I watched it this morning, watched the entire thing, all hour.
I'm sorry.
And my wife was getting ready. She overheard the whole thing. And she's like, so what are people mad about? And I was like, I have no fucking idea, because this is honestly boring. But it's literally just talking about our military history. It was pretty pro-America. I didn't find it politicized at all. He didn't talk about campaigning. He didn't really talk about himself. He talked about the country. The only thing that made him political was him showing up to it. I literally was like looking for things I just don't understand why people are even bothered by this in the least.
Yeah. If I'm being 100% honest, I thought it was one of the more middle of the road speeches that Trump had done. I thought he did a pretty good job doing what he set out to do, as far as he came off as being as unbiased as I've seen Trump be. He did talk a lot about important historical figures throughout American history, including Alexander Graham Bell, who was a Canadian, and his accomplishments. He did live in America, but he definitely was not in America when he invented the horse or whatever. He invented the telephone. But no, so I was kind of the same way. I watched it and I was like, I'm not getting a lot of what it is that people are upset about out of it. The footage itself I thought was pretty good. The speech wasn't horrible or wasn't bad. But there is something that played in my head. There's something about him doing it behind the bulletproof glass, and the way that they watch the planes fly overhead, and this big celebration of the military when Donald Trump he never served in the military. He's not he doesn't have that in his repertoire, for whatever reason, veterans tend to like Donald Trump, but he himself isn't a veteran. He doesn't have that kind of relationship with the military. To see him do this pageantry about the American military seemed a little bit hypocritical, I think, in that way, especially when he's like, young people should join the military. It's like, dude, you didn't join the military and you did all right. To me, it's almost like he knows that people who join the military, they're not the ones who end up super fucking successful later in life. And so to me, I felt like that was a little bit exploitive. I can definitely see that. But at the same time, I don't think you need to serve in the military to be pro-military. I think I've never served in the military. I'm very pro-military. I obviously support our troops, even when I don't necessarily support the
operations that we might be going on, I will always support them. Because, these people literally die, so I can sit here and talk about shit like this. So, and that's just how many things. It's no more exploitative than Hillary Clinton talking about being about the poor. Hillary Clinton's as far from poor as you can get.
Yeah.
That's what politicians do.
Yeah.
We talk about, politicians in particular talk about things that they will never know. They talk about things that they've never been through, but they feel like their base would like. And he did that. But honestly, I didn't even feel like he was playing to his base as much. I felt like he was just talking about America.
And I feel like it's like, to be able to make me feel patriotic, like, I'm a pretty cynical fucking person by nature. And, when you say, like, you're pro-military, even if you don't support the operations, that's a prickly one for me, because I am not pro-military at all, but I am pro-people, and I have lots and lots of great friends that were in the military, and obviously I support them. I think the military should be taken care of for the sacrifices that they make. It's a fucking travesty to see the way that most veterans are treated in America.
Horrible. I have friends. It's awful.
And that's what makes it really hard for me to be patriotic in a lot of those ways, because I see infantry as expendable. I see them as fucking meat shields, and that's unfortunate. It's a shame that that's kind of the way, but I feel like they are pawns in a game of chess that the most important players are never actually going to have to be front and center on the battlefield, and you said that
and I agree with you there. I don't think you're incorrect with saying that they are shields, they are the front lines, and it's awful. I personally, and this was kind of when the conversation we had about liberal versus conservative and the pro-war thing came up. I still stand by no one wants really war. Like, I would love to live in a world where we have no military, no one does, we don't need it. That's currently not the world we live in. I don't know if it'll ever be the world we live in, because people do some shitty things, and there's always going to be dictators and people grabbing for power. So I will always support people who can do something that I can never do. I don't have the stomach. I don't have the guts for any of it. I couldn't be on the front lines, I will always respect and take my hat off. I'm the person, if I see someone and they're wearing a military hat, I always walk up to them and thank them for their service every single time.
Do you really?
Every time.
Good dude.
100%. I will literally be that guy who I'll see him at a table. We're at a restaurant and I'm like, hold on one sec. I'll get up from my table, walk over and go, hi, sir. I just wanted to thank you for your service.
Yeah, that's great, man. And and I don't want to, and I don't think I'm coming off that way, but no. It's not on a personal level. I really do. And I know that for a lot of my friends, it was stability and security and a lifestyle that maybe they wouldn't have had those opportunities had they have not enlisted. And I have seen it. I'm from a very, very predominantly Air Force community. Navarre, where I grew up, or smack between two of the hugest military bases in the country. So most of my good friends' parents were active duty in Air Force specifically, and super fucking cool people, just some of the coolest people I've ever met, and all of that. But to me, even the idea, even what America is, I feel like this idea of England's not going to take our freedom. Well, that entitlement of even what it meant, like, we were part of England when we came over here and colonized in the first place, and we decided we didn't want to play by their rules. It's like there's a lot of spin involved to turn that into something that is like this heroic spirit of sacrifice, and to me it rings very propaganda-y. Now granted, I know that 4th of July is that, and all of the marches and the bands doing the patriotic music and stuff, but it feels so close in my mind to like the kind of pageantry that we would see from like God, I know I'm gonna catch shit for this, but like a North Korea kind of parade where like your military is the, like, to politicize and to pageantize the military, I think is very dictator like.
So I will take it one step further. I feel like every presidential speech is propaganda.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
that's
maybe
how I feel.
Yeah,
and this is one of those classic scenarios of where I feel like I saw people ranting and raving about this, and I'm like, you can pull up many Obama speeches that look just as propaganda as much as this does.
Did Obama ever stand behind bulletproof glass?
I don't know, but I mean, is that because a security measure? I mean, he's a pretty hated president.
No, it is. No, it is 100%. And that's the thing is like, is it worth getting shot to maintain good optics? Or is it the protocol put in place because see, that's a tricky thing. I see where you're coming from. Obviously, he needs it in place now where maybe they didn't back then, but I think that a radical would be just as likely to shoot Obama as they would 100%. To shoot Donald Trump. I mean,
Obama was a very hated president. The approval ratings aren't very different for either of these men.
Right.
Like we like to pretend they were very divisive, both of them. So I agree with you. I think Obama every time he went out was in just as much jeopardy. So him speaking without bulletproof glass, does that make it better, or does it make it maybe he should have had
dumber? Yeah, well, and I don't know, but it's just the optics. It's that like what and when we talk about a wall, like it's the implication, it's the nonverbal part of the language that it portrays that it creates it paints the picture, I guess. And
I don't know. To me, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's like the Pope Mobile with his bulletproof glass. I don't freak out about that either.
Yeah.
There are people. Here's the thing is, every president is surrounded by guys with guns. You may not see them, but they are surrounded constantly with people who will kill you if you come, And yes, a bulletproof glass might optically look worse, but these people are surrounded by people who carry guns who will kill you if they need to, because they're presidents, and they should be, because there are crazy people on the left and on the right who would, or just crazy people who don't even affiliate with any party, who would try to take shots at somebody. I mean, I'm pretty sure, and this is pretty fucked up to say, I'm pretty sure JFK wish he would have had bulletproof glass around his car.
Yeah, it's fair.
It's
fair. And, Reagan and JFK, political ideologies completely opposite, both of them. Well, one assassinated, the other had an assassination attempt. So presidents are always going to run that risk. And yeah, you're right. The Secret Service is always protecting him and flanking him. And there's just something about the framing of the pictures, the framing of the video that is able to put that part out of our minds in favor of painting another kind of picture. I just feel that separation creates a distance, and that's nothing to get hung up on. That's not my whole...
No, here's my thing though. I feel like, and see if you agree with this. I feel like in order, you watched the whole thing, I watched the whole thing. Even with the tanks, I heard they were going down the street. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I was prepared to be angry about this. Be like, we cannot have tanks rolling down the street. I feel like a lot of people are nitpicking because of ideologies. And you saw this with Obama. Like, I can't tell you how many times I saw people on the right who were freaking out about stuff Obama did. And I was like, guys, calm down. Bush did the same thing before him. Like, chill. Or Bush did something similar. And I feel like this is a case of Trump derangement syndrome. I feel like you have to be looking for stuff in order to really freak out. Because I was watching it very open-minded, and I didn't see anything that caused me to freak out. I really didn't.
I think the idea, like, Trump derangement syndrome and ideology, they may overlap, but Trump derangement syndrome doesn't necessarily, it's something that gets tossed around as maybe an attack against the right, but just because, like me personally, maybe my bias is less about the ideology and more about Trump. Maybe it is more Trump derangement syndrome than it is like, oh, the fucking conservatives or the fucking Republicans. It's usually, for me, it's like fucking Trump, dude.
It's a very off-putting person.
Yeah.
He really is. And even just, if I'm being honest, hearing him talk is kind of fucking annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, his tone, his cadence is kind of annoying. I'll admit that, because while watching it, there were even some moments where I'm like, God, you're just annoying. Like, you're just an annoying person.
And it felt very him-centric. He was able to not frame it that way, but still it felt very about feeding his ego. And obviously, again, you're a fucking president, you're an egomaniac. This isn't a Trump thing, this is an all presidents thing. But most of them have had people behind them that would say, like, hey man, you might not want to make it all about you because people might like not like that. And he's just like, no, shut the fuck up, I'm good, I got this.
I felt like this was one of the few times he didn't make it about himself. I actually felt quite the opposite. I feel like normally that's all Trump does. It's Trump, 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 every speech. It's me, I got so many friends, every time. And I felt like this was like, hey, these people did this. They had that sit out at that school for the civil rights movement. We have this person in the audience today. We have that person in the audience today. Give them a round of applause. I felt like this was, to me, I felt like this was one of Trump's best displays, personally. I
don't disagree with the fact that it was a really well put together speech. I think that okay, so then another from an outside perspective, Russia, one of their main television outlets, like one of their big media, like basically 60 Minutes kind of shows, was kind of poking fun at the actual weaponry and military vehicles that were put on display. Supposedly they weren't like the new versions of anything, that they were a little battered, a little worn out, that the weapons weren't even like actually real guns or some shit on it. So do you think, it's our relationship with Russia is interesting right now. And obviously, you can't say our relationship with Russia is blank, because that would be a blanket statement implying that everybody in Russia felt the same fucking way about anything. But to be criticized on a national scale for seemingly wanting to promote the power, the strength of our military, and then using technology that wasn't as advanced as we have, like I don't understand the reasoning behind why the selections were made.
So I'm assuming we didn't want to put our best stuff out there because, there's going to be people around. And I'm assuming this was an opportunity because I don't know. I couldn't find many pictures of these tanks. Like I could just find a couple with the little guards around them. And people did seem pretty close. I don't know about you. Have you ever been to like a tank thing where they show military weapons and you're able to walk up to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's super cool. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought that's what this was like, hey, you guys want to walk by and look at a tank? That's how I read it. And as far as being criticized by the national scale, we get criticized on the national scale for everything. We all do.
You don't think then that this wasn't a display of military might to outside forces? It was a display of, you think it was more showcasing it to Americans as opposed to showing it to the rest of the world?
Yes. You got to remember, Trump's pretty isolationist. He's pretty protectionist. He's pretty America first. That's been one of his big criticisms that a lot of people have. He's definitely the America first. He's a nationalist, So I don't understand why this one instance then would flip completely against his ideology and be about the rest of the world when everything he does is about himself, but also about America. And like the Blue Angels flying around. The Blue Angels do things all over the U.S. all year long.
Do you know where they're from?
Are they from Florida, aren't they?
Pensacola, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know they're Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
And maybe that also colors my perception of it, is the Blue Angels air show every year here in Pensacola. Like, this is home court for them. And I've always thought it was it's phenomenal. It's super fucking cool to look at, but just that idea of fetishizing the military it creates a dissonance in my head. I don't think that there's many things that are too rad about weapons of fucking warfare. It is cool because the NAS museum is here.
Level, but
right.
Yeah, when you actually look at what they're designed to do, they're horrifying things. They are in my opinion, necessary evil, because that's what these are. Like, a tank is a cool looking thing, but it is mechanical evil. Let's be real about it. Like, that's what it is. It's designed to kill and hurt and do horrible things to people. It's not like this is designed to do nice things.
Well, I don't think it's going to be any big surprise to anybody that both of us are pretty centrist on this whole situation. Like, I don't think either of us were super pro or anti any of it.
I can understand the where you're coming from. I really can, of being like, oh, it's a little too much leaning to military. It didn't bother me. I thought he was okay. I thought he came off pretty, moderate measured in this. I don't understand the hate. I also don't understand. I saw some reactions on the right who were like, they were jerking themselves off over this. And I'm like, whoa, you guys calm down. This was a boring 4th of July celebration. Chill, people.
The camera crew on the particular link that I sent you, it was like, all right, look up, the blues are going to fly overhead or like whatever jet. And then they like didn't pan up. They just stayed fixed on Trump's face the entire time. And you can see him like kind of like, look up at the fucking planes, cameraman. Why are you looking at me? So like there's this real awkward reaction shot. It's pretty good.
No, I don't know. It was interesting, but it wasn't interesting. I found it rather boring.
Would you recommend that our listeners check it out?
If you want to just hear about history and about military stuff, then cool. Yeah, but I found it pretty fucking boring.
I put it on 2 times playback speed. It was like an hour long, so I think I killed it in about 25-30 minutes. I did a little bit of skimming. In real time?
In real time. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
All right, well, let's go ahead and transition over to your topic of the week.
So, speaking of being measured, this is...
No.
I have seen the whole reaction, as we all have, to Ariel being cast as, I think it's Halle Bailey. Is that correct?
Harry Bailey.
It's she is a black girl, and so naturally everyone's freaking out on all ends because Ariel wasn't black in the original. I'm of 2 minds of this. I'm kind of, my first mind, to be honest, like the thing that really bothers me is I just hate everyone who's talking about this right now. If I'm being completely honest, they're all disgusting, awful people.
Oh man, here we go.
So here's my stance on it. As far as race swapping is concerned, I only have a problem with it when it's integral to the character. Like if you were to race swap Black Panther, it makes no sense. It's integral to that character.
That's everybody's favorite argument right now. Oh, great. Next, we're going to recast Black Panther as a white guy and see how everybody feels about that. Shut the fuck up.
So, and I think like for me, in my head, Ariel is not like, her whiteness doesn't define her, But on the other side, I hate well, she's a mermaid. It doesn't matter. Okay, fuck off. Let's not pretend there's no cultural significance. King Triton is Greek. He is the son of Poseidon and was it Aphrodite?
Mm-hmm.
So these are Greek gods. They are Greek people. Let's not pretend there's no cultural significance just because it's not your culture. Those people are like, oh, it's totally different. No, it's not that different. This is actually one of the few ones that actually does have cultural significance, Like this is one of the very few ones where it does make sense. So I actually understand the outcry. It doesn't bother me personally. I don't give a shit. It's Little Mermaid. Who cares? But let's not also pretend just because it's not your culture. If there were some mythological creature from, Africa or something, and they cast it as a white person as that, and they use the excuse, well, it's a god. You'd be like, yeah, but it's an African god. Like it wouldn't make any sense. So I do understand the outcry. I personally am not offended by it.
Yeah, I want to try to be articulate and try to concisely say how I feel about it without being misinterpreted. So the primary outrage tends to be coming from people like myself and you, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's 30-something-year-old men that seem to have the biggest problem with it. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there are also women of a certain age, that probably our age, maybe a little younger, a little older, that saw The Little Mermaid in 1989 when it was released. I was 7 years old at the time that this movie was released. And I remember, this is my personal experience with it. I remember seeing it, and as like a 7-year-old kid, like just loving Ariel, like being in love with Ariel, you know what I mean?
Too.
Like it was just so amazing. I remember singing Part of Your World or whatever and just being like, wow, like This was like a childhood crush of mine. Not Ariel the mermaid, Ariel the red-headed, blue-eyed, white girl Ariel. That's who she was. That's how I saw her. That's how I fell in love with that character. This new version of the movie, it's not fucking for me anymore. You know, it's not for me. Does it bother me that version of Ariel is being replaced? Yeah, I mean, it kind of does a little bit, but my opinion doesn't matter, because again, I have to take a step back and say, this isn't for me. This is for kids. And when, let's just throw a statistic out there, when 7 out of 9 Disney princesses are white or whatever, yes, there is a need to have a more diverse group of characters for people that aren't represented. This conversation of representation comes up all the fucking time. If I were going to sidestep all of the controversy, I would say, yes, this is The Little Mermaid, but this isn't Ariel. This is The Little Mermaid, but this is a different character names of the same. Oh no, Ariel still exists. Y'all still have the little white redheaded Ariel. She's over there in the cartoon world. Our version of Ariel is called Beth or some bullshit. I don't fucking know. Insert any name here, right? And so you're taking the same story, the same themes, everything's still the same, but you just change it up to where it's like, we're not replacing your character. That character you love, she still exists, just not in this medium. This is a different thing. But when there's a little girl with a little Ariel doll in her hand, and she's been carrying it around for the past 2 years, and some studio executive comes up to her and he grabs her little Ariel from her, and then he sticks this new doll in her hand and he says, here, that's Ariel. And she's like, this isn't Ariel. This is some other, I had a connection to this Ariel. It's a tricky thing, because like on one hand, I understand why people would feel sentimental about him. It doesn't make them racist to have a connection to a character that happened to be white, and that's the version of the character they like. That does not make them racist. That's this problem with the narrative, is it's like, oh, now all the white people are mad because they don't feel like they're, like, whatever the argument for the other side is. Now, again, taking a step back from it, I understand the need for inclusion. I understand the importance of diversity. I understand what you said about, is the race of the character integral to the character itself? Well, when the only representation of this character that people have only seen is one way, of course it creates a dissonance, and they might not be able to concisely articulate why it is, or go back to the Hans Christian Andersen's a Swedish author or Danish author or whatever. This actually has historical significance. I'm a Danish person. How are you going to say that this doesn't matter when it is a big cultural touchstone in our community? So, I guess that's it. I mean, that's kind of where I stand on it, is like, I understand both sides of the argument.
I really do too. Like, I get both of them. I understand where both sides are coming from. So my initial reaction was actually like, who cares? It's Ariel. Like, she could be any race. And then I was like, wait, isn't her dad King Triton? And what made me think of this is someone posted a picture of King Triton, and it was like a joke.
Terry Crews or something? Okay, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, wait, that is kind of weird. King Triton is a black dude. That is a little weird. Because here's why. So Ariel and Hercules are technically like cousins or something like that, so it would be a little weird if we had Hercules as a black dude, I would assume.
Well, The Rock did it.
The Rock did it.
Mm-hmm.
Did he play? Did he play Conan, or did he play Hercules?
That was Momoa did Conan.
You know what I mean? And it's a little weird. That being said, I tend to fall on the side of, I don't really give a shit about your race, in general. So I think that's why my initial reaction was like, who cares?
Yeah.
I feel like where Disney has come into a problem is Disney, it wants to be so culturally sensitive as long as it's not white people, Mm-hmm. We got to make sure everyone in Mulan is right. We got to make sure everyone in Aladdin is culturally right, even though people freaked out about Jasmine for being half.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that, even though, if anything, the real controversy should have been Will Smith. If anything, he should have been, of Arabian descent as well. If anything, that should have done it. But we got to do that. But then they're like, Belle, mid-centuries France. Yeah, we're going to throw a bunch of black people in it. And you're like, okay, all right, whatever. It doesn't really make sense, but okay, whatever. They want to make sure that they're culturally sensitive and tell something that actually has cultural significance. Now, I was going through the list of Disney characters I feel like you could race swap. And I feel like there are characters that their race isn't integral to them. Honestly, one of the ones that popped into my head was the Princess and the Frog Girl. There's nothing about her culture to me, unless I'm missing something. I only saw the movie once. That like you could put any Hispanic, white, Asian, it really wouldn't change the story of that. And I feel like a lot of the things, I don't even know who all the Disney princesses are. A lot of these were European fairy tales. So it's going to make sense. A perfect example, if you changed Hunchback of Notre Dame, Esmeralda, to just like a blonde-haired white girl, well, that kind of does change the story because her being a gypsy and traveling actually is part of it. And I feel like that where needs to be the line. But if we're going to freak out about Motoko Kusanagi, which I kind of did bother me. I wish in Ghost in the Shell being white, I think she should have been Japanese. She is inherently, her Japanese culture is inherently a lot less important than Ariel's Greek culture in the context of the story.
Yeah, I think, and I hate to, because all things aren't equal, but I think the Princess and the Frog thing is valid. New Orleans, I was there over the weekend for Essence Festival was going on the same weekend. New Orleans is predominantly black. I would say like 80% black population, maybe more. I don't know, give or take a little. I don't know the actual statistics, but I could see there being an outrage about that, and justifiably so. If we were like, because okay, we're doing a live action version of it, and we're going to cast a white girl to do that. And you're right, like, I guess because of the institution, because historically Anglo-Saxon and white portrayals have been so dominant that there's a less of a importance put on whether or not you should respect it culturally, because diversity does matter a lot unless we're talking about the other way around. And I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is this idea of labeling that just because a person feels some type of way about it, that it makes them racist. Now, that said, there are definitely fucking racists out there who have a problem with this. I'm not saying that nobody that has a problem with this is racist, but a lot of these people, they might just not have the tools to be able to properly articulate why it is. And it's like, okay, I've got this red wallet, and I've had it all my life, and it's my fucking red wallet. I like it because of what it is. And then you give me a brown wallet, and you're like, here's your new wallet. It's just the same as your last one. It's like, well, no, my last wallet was red. And maybe that's stupid and it's superficial, but it's a person's sentimental attachment to this fictional world. And go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you see people freak out with Ninja Turtles remakes, you know what I mean, about the way they look different. And they're completely fictional digital characters or puppets, and people freak out about that. That doesn't mean a lot of what could be going on with Ariel I do think there are racists. I've seen them who have a problem with this 100%. Fuck those people. I do think a lot of it's nostalgia. I really do. I think that's the issue.
Motherfucker.
I'm defending the people who are like, no, she was a white girl. Like, I'm defending them, but I also realistically, it's kind of cool that, if I have a daughter, that she might be able to watch Little Mermaid for someone who looks more like her. That's cool.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. Instead of, how about this, Disney, give us a 2D animated princess. A black one, not one where she's a frog for 90% of the movie, which I still think she counts as a Disney princess, but people were mad because she wasn't black long enough in that, but give us a real Disney princess, create a story. If you want to get really, really technical, go to a place where the ethnicity, I'm sure there has to be, I'm not familiar in them, but there has to be, African folklore tales that you could tell in 2D animation about a princess or about a prince or whatever. Give us those new characters. This just feels very pandering to me, and I would much rather see Disney really go in and create a new character. that no one can complain about. This is their story. People would still complain because they're still racist, but no one can complain about it. I feel like that would be a lot better than what they're doing now.
That's asking too much of Disney. To make them come up with an original fucking idea at this phase of where Disney's at, they're like, no, we're good. We're just going to reskin the things that you're familiar with, you know? Oh, for example, and they're like The Lion King. Dude, The Lion King should have always been an African-American or a black cast. It should have always been that way. It was Jonathan Brandis or Jonathan Taylor Thomas was Simba in the original. You know, we weren't there as a society to give a fuck at the time that it came out. Not that I know of. Maybe I just wasn't on Twitter back in 94 or whatever. But and now there didn't seem to be a lot of like outrage surrounding, oh my God, they got fucking Beyonce to play Nala. This is garbage. It's not that. I think that the conversation misses the nuance, and what I see a lot of in comment sections is like, I don't know, it's just that The Little Mermaid always meant this much to me, and Ariel was always like one of my heroes, and then somebody will come into the comment section and be like, fuck you, you racist piece of white fucking garbage, and you're like, so now it's totally okay to be racist. You just can't be white and be racist. Like, you can say the most hateful, bigoted shit as long as it's in response to a white person who isn't educated in the civics classes or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing I feel like we need to decide as a society, whether it's movies and whitewashing or race swapping, and we need to establish a set of rules. What is or is not acceptable? We have varying rules for varying different groups, and we see this a lot of times plays out negatively for minorities, because we do live in a society with different rules for different people, social rules, not law, but social rules. A lot of times those are very much against black people, you know? And we need to decide where we're at. Now, to go back to the Lion King thing, so I actually fall different. I don't feel like voice acting is one of those things for me gets a pass. You know, voice acting, I am fine with casting anyone. I remember the Uncharted 4 game. The main villain was a white guy. He was voiced by a black guy. Had no problem with it.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the other way around.
Villain was, well, there was also a controversy in that too, because there was a black woman who was voiced by a white woman. And
problem.
Here's the thing is, we could get so woke. I could complain about Lion King right now. You're using African Americans instead of actual African actors. That is so American centrist. You are a xenophobe because you did not go outside of your own country to pick the voice actors. We can do this until the ends of the earth. We really can. And we've hit a point where we're doing that. And we either need to decide, are we going to be super culturally sensitive for everything? Or are we going to give ourselves some wiggle room? I tend to believe in the wiggle room. Now, there is offensive way to do it, you know? Like, you can definitely take stuff to an offense. I've seen it. We talked about the old Tom and Jerry cartoons and stuff. You know, there's offensive stuff, really 100%. Casting someone, like, personally, even though I spent this whole thing being like, hey, I can understand why people are pissed, I personally, casting Ariel as a black girl, cool, whatever, you know, like, but that fits in line with my ideology. My ideology tends to be get the best person for the job. And
do you think that she got hired because she is the best person for the job?
I don't know. I think it's possible. But knowing Disney, probably not, because I feel like Disney's very smart. This is also has to be marketing gold to them.
Oh, 100. Us talking about it right now is exactly what they counted on. It is definitely outrage marketing. We saw it work tremendously with Captain Marvel. There's these subsects of the internet that base their whole shtick around the wokeness of Disney. You know, like, there are so many YouTube channels specifically dedicated to that, and they are, you know, I don't know if it's responsible of Disney, but I know that it's financially the smarter choice. I don't like what it's doing to people, but I understand that it's helping their bottom line. And when I say I don't like what it's doing to people, it's just like these conversations, like, it feels so manufactured. Like they are achieving their goal by having people get angry and outraged about it. And so what people do, lots of people, myself even included, like, I wasn't gonna not go see Captain Marvel because I didn't want to see the movie fail because of fucking bigots or whatever, right? So like, I went and saw it, and I didn't love it, you know, and I'm not going to, it's a tricky thing because I don't want to let the social quote unquote importance of these huge corporate fucking products to dictate whether or not I like it. But if you say, I don't fucking like Captain Marvel, I thought she was an underwritten, underdeveloped character, then you can come at me as a sexist. Right. And that's not responsible. I think that that's a fucking problem when you're going to point fingers at people and say, oh, you didn't think the Black Panther was the best fucking Marvel movie, you racist piece of shit? And I'm not saying it wasn't important to you. I'm just saying, as far as an actual fucking movie, it wasn't the best movie. Like that and that's where a lot of this stuff gets to be like, you're villainizing the other for having a dissenting opinion, and that's fucking dangerous, dude.
The otherizing on all ends, like of the ARIEL of this debate, is so disgusting. I feel, this is why I said I feel disgusted by everyone involved. I feel like everyone has a set of rules until it comes to their own culture. You know, it's fine if I'm on the white side. It's fine if you change whatever. You know, it's fine if you change Ghost in the Shell to white. She's an android. Doesn't really matter. She's an android. She can be whatever. Then on the reverse, then they're mad at ARIEL. The people who were very against changing Ghost in the Shell. Well, you can't change that. Being part of Japanese is part of her identity. Or like, oh, this Greek girl, yeah, fucking write that off.
Yeah.
Pick rules and be ideologically consistent. I always try to pull myself away from everything emotionally and look at it. I try. Of course, I get heated and I get all these things, but I try to look at it and go, okay, what rules have we established? And look at everything through those parameters. And people create parameters around projects. They decide what the outcome is before they actually look at it. And it's hypocritical to me on all ends.
So I agree with you. I was actually trying to watch other people discuss this conversation, and I just kept getting so embarrassed and like turning it off. Like, I can't watch this. I can't fucking bring myself to listen to these fucking people talk about it. And here we are talking about it. I don't know if I'm going to come off any better about it. I agree with what you said 100%. We should be consistent. Now, just to kind of throw a wrench in that, do you think that because of the power structure, because of the social hierarchy here in America has been the way that it has for so long, that there needs to be some sort of like handicap going into it, so that like, yeah, well, white people, you got to understand, we've got to take a little bit away from you to give to the other people because they haven't gotten shit for so long?
No, I think that is the soft bigotry of low expectations that I see coming out of, one side particularly heavily right now is, oh, these poor people, treating them like second-class citizens. That's so fucking offensive to me, to treat people like, oh, well, they need this. They need this. There are, directors like Ryan Coogler who went out there, he worked his ass off, he made that, and now he made one of the biggest franchises ever. Was his road probably harder? Yeah, that fucking sucks. It shouldn't be that way. But at the same time, we talk about representation. So representation, if we're being ideological, should mean everyone, if we want to live in this identitarian utopia, everyone should have the proper percentage of what they make up. Because 18% of the population or whatever roughly is African American. So those black people should be in 18% of the movies, as 80% of the leads. This many. One of the biggest underrepresented groups is Hispanics in this country. No one gives a shit. No one says anything, and I feel like we care about representation as long as it's, quote, our people. And that's an ideology that I would like to see just go away, whether you're white or whether you're black. Because our people are humans, and I feel like everyone forgets that. These are people. I literally share my house with the love of my life who is black, who is from another country, who is the greatest human being on the planet. So guess what? If they cast a black woman, I'm fine with it because my kids are going to be able to look at that. But also, at the same time, if they cast a white person, who cares either? as long as you're not being disrespectful to a race, I feel like is the way to go. And I do think there are times where, I feel like I'm talking in circles, but there are times where changing race is disrespectful. I look at one of my favorite characters, Naruto. If they made him a white kid, I'd be so fucking pissed. He's a little ninja. You know, his name's Naruto Uzumaki. I'd be pissed because to me, his identity is clearly Japanese. And I would find that disrespectful.
See, but then Japan creates some of these problems themselves by creating such European-looking characters. Like Naruto is Japanese, but he's also blonde and blue-eyed, right?
Yes, I have a whole video on my old channel that's deceased anymore where I talk about this, that he does not look white. He only looks white to white people. Like, I look at him, I see a clearly Japanese guy because it's such a stylized style. Then I'm like, no, that's clearly a Japanese guy. Just like Homer Simpson doesn't look white either, but we know he's white.
To me, like, the whole anime formula is literally a manipulation of the Disney formula. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but like...
Yeah, it came from Osamu Tezuka, specifically Bambi is where it came from. Yep. Osamu Tezuka loved Bambi. He made Astro Boy very similar to Bambi, and it kind of just grew from there. Yep.
And so, you know, I do agree with what you're saying, because culturally it is inherent to the story, especially with Ghost in the Shell and things in that same kind of vein where, like, it is so Japanese centric. Like it's every cultural element of it is pulled from that history, that it's like it seems kind of gross to keep everything else the same and then recast the lead character as a white character. It's just like, for the longest time, that was marketability. Like, studios would justify it as like, look, we want people to show up to this movie, so we're going to get a well-known actor in it. Now, Ghost in the Shell had Scarlett Johansson. It didn't exactly do gangbusters at the box office, you know? But it is a good point that you bring up about representation. That representation seems to matter a lot when it's white versus black. But like, how many redheaded fucking characters are there just in general in movies? I mean, like, redheads are pretty underrepresented.
Think about Asians in film. How many Asians do you have that aren't a kung fu master, aren't a like token Asian, aren't a tech coder or anything, who are just leading roles? I think of one. I think of Glenn from The Walking Dead. Yeah. Who's just a dude. Who's just a dude, could be any other race.
Yep. Yeah, like, that's not part of his character that he's Asian.
Well, and then, like, speaking of anime, another race swap that to me was fine, Death Note. Huge Death Note fan. Death Note takes place in Japan. Death Note, you can put that show anywhere. It could take place in Britain, it could take place in America. One of the guys was white, one of them was black. To me, that wasn't in a story that was inherently Japanese. You know, like, it was one of those ones where I'm like, race swap that all you want. I don't care any direction you go. You know, like, it wasn't, the only thing that is, I guess, was like the death gods, the Shinigami, you know, but yeah. Like, so, it just depends on the story for me.
So 1989's The Little Mermaid probably has my favorite soundtrack of any Disney movie. I think Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl are fucking phenomenally written children's songs. I think they're so good, and they're distinctively Caribbean. So what happened is, in 1989, we took this Hans Christian Andersen story and we kind of transposed it into a more Caribbean world. You know, like Sebastian the Crab, a lot of people think he's Jamaican. He's actually a Trinidadian actor, and they tried to get him to do a Jamaican accent, but his true Trinidad voice kept coming through. So they were like, you know, just rock it. Just do the Trinidad thing. So what happened is this musical became just an unprecedented hit because of its very Caribbean influenced music. And I think that in today's climate, Disney might have almost thought that they were kind of course correcting it to fix it in a way that would be more palatable than a bunch of fucking white people singing reggae in today's climate. True. I don't know if that's what it is, but it's like, can you have Sebastian the Crab exist in a world surrounded by all of these like island people? I don't know, but that was something that kind of crossed my mind, is like, well, I can see why maybe they think going in the direction of casting an all Caribbean cast or all dark-skinned Islander type cast would make sense for this setting. So we're not talking about an adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen at all. We're talking about an adaptation of a Disney movie that came out in the 1980s. So the historical significance kind of starts to fall by the wayside, because you get what I'm saying though?
Yeah, I feel like they kind of put themselves in a weird place because it's a Danish story based on a Greek mythology
Right.
with Caribbean actors and Caribbean music. It's a little interesting way of doing it. And I mean, realistically, if we were gonna stick to their ideological guns of being culturally sensitive, these would all be Greek people. Like that's what it would be. You know, that's.
But then, what even is a Greek person? I mean, you know, they're like olive skinned, green brown eyes. Yeah, they're not like Caucasoid in the way that we think of Caucasians nowadays. Like they're not like white
King
Jesus.
Triton,
You know,
pull up a picture of him in that anime. I mean, in the original movie, he looks very Greek. You know, like he's a dark skinned Greek man. And that's the thing is, again, we can play this until the cows come home. We can go, okay, you should go to actually Greek. You should get people from Greece who are dark skinned, you know, olive-colored Greek people. You know what? We're only going to make it subtitled. I don't care if kids can't read it because that's culturally significant. Like, we can just do this forever. Everything is offensive. You can make everything offensive if you look at it through those lenses. It's easy to do.
So yeah, I guess on the closing note on my side, for my 2 cents, I don't have a problem with them casting this girl. If you have a problem with it, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to dismiss you outright and call you a racist. You might have a sentimental connection to this character that other people may or may not have. I think as we get older, we have to just understand that these things, they're not for us so much. And Caleb, like what you said that really resonates to me is like, you could have a daughter that goes out and sees this movie and this become her Ariel. And when she's carrying around that children's toy 20 years from now and she has this sentimental connection to this character, it's because Disney casted outside of what we perceive to be the obvious choice. And while it's not the obvious choice, while it's not the direction that I would have went if I were going out to cast Ariel, it is what it is, and somebody could really connect to it and respond to it in a positive way. So no ill will towards the girl, obviously. I think she's probably going to do really good in it. Maybe she was the best person for the job. Maybe it wasn't political at all. I personally do tend to feel like Disney does a lot of what they do very strategically. So I don't think that their hands are clean of all of this. Like, what do you mean? We didn't even think about it. But at the same time, like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm totally fine with it. What about you?
I'm actually fine with it. It's weird because I was like, sound like I was like I said, I'm sick of everyone with this whole thing. If you want to go see the movie, go see it. I think it's going to be fine. I'm not going to see it anyway. Wouldn't have if it would have been the gingeriest ginger. I still wouldn't have saw this movie. So, but here's the thing is, I understand people being excited that The Little Mermaid looks like them or looks like their kids. I get that. I also understand people going, well, that's like, not the Ariel I grew up with. And both of those don't necessarily make you a horrible person. What does make you a horrible person is implying motive to the other person.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a really good spot to end it. And on that note, guys, we'd actually really like to hear what your thoughts are on this conversation down in the comment section. But that's not all. We got all sorts of fun topics that we would love to hear from you guys about. And if you have any suggestions for things that you want to hear us discuss in future episodes of the show, then all you got to do is let us know down in the comment section. Stay up to date with all of the terrible content by clicking that subscribe button, followed by the bell to enable notifications. And if you enjoyed this video, do us both a favor. Take just a second to smash that little thumbs up button down there. It really helps us know what kind of content you guys are enjoying. And check down in the description. I will post a link to all of our different platforms where you can listen to the podcast. You can watch the video versions. You can follow us on social media. You can do all of that fun stuff by looking down in the description. And most importantly, and on behalf of me and Caleb, and until next time, be terrible.